Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is a beautiful day to talk about finance. So in this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about saving and some tips and some things that you can do to save if you're a student. And there's a number of different ways that people can be students. Maybe you're an adult who's going to school. Maybe you're going to a community college, or you're in high school, or you're a full-time college student at a university, right? The one thing that I think all types of people who decide to be students have in common is that we all have incredibly busy schedules, right? We're trying to balance going to school with any number of other things in our lives. And so saving, especially saving money, setting yourself up for financial success, can be something that's difficult. So I'm going to share a few tips here of things that I have found to be really useful, a certain type of job position that I know has benefited a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends, who are full-time students who have incredibly busy schedules. I'm going to list a couple ways that you can put, a few extra dollars in your pocket, $800, maybe up to $1,000 in a relatively short amount of time. And then we're going to talk about some ways that you can cut back on expenses, and then some ways to save time. So stick around, because at the very end, we're going to talk about something that's really valuable to productivity, something that you can implement in your life that will save you time and save you money as well. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is a type of job that I've seen a lot of people who, like I said, my friends who have incredibly busy schedules, get this certain type of job. And it really benefits them because it allows them to not only increase their income and get paid, but also have the freedom to utilize their time and do homework and do the things that they need to do at the same time. So they're kind of creating a two birds with one stone situation. And that's incredibly, incredibly valuable if you're someone who has a busy schedule. So this job is really any desk position. So on college campuses, right, for this example, a lot of organizations need somebody or a rotation of people to just sit at a desk, and you might have like some mundane tasks to do, maybe checking people in or helping people out with questions that they have. But more often than not, for the majority of the time, you're allowed to do your homework, you're allowed to work on projects, do whatever you need to do. So if you're a student, the principle here, the takeaway, right, is to find positions like this, like desk positions. And there's really no specific name for it. Find positions where the most important aspect of it is having a person present. Because if you can do that, if you can apply to those positions, get accepted while you're in school, you'll be able to utilize your time and get paid at the same time, right? So I know a lot of people that, maybe they work at the pizza place, right? And if you go to a 5-hour shift and you're working at the pizza place, you're not going to be able to do your homework. You're not going to be able to work on projects or do research or whatever it is that you need to do for your classes. But if you work at a desk, and you can finish your tasks quickly or help people out every now and then the rest of your time is free to get those things done. And that becomes incredibly, incredibly significant in terms of the impact on your time and on your money, right? On your overall productivity. So now I have 4 kind of mini income increases, 4 things that you can do to, like I said, put a few extra dollars in your pocket. The first one, you can earn, maybe 50, 60 bucks, by doing this, depending on how much of this particular item that you've accumulated. And it's going to be selling notes for textbooks, right? So we're talking about students. If you are a student, I'm sure you have an accumulation of notes, an accumulation of textbooks, and these are actually worth some money. These are valuable. So a lot of people don't know that you can go on some websites and sell your notes, right? And you can earn, like I said, sometimes $50, $60, depending on the notes and depending on the class that it's for. And then textbooks, that's a no-brainer, right? If you have an old textbook, especially if it's a newer old textbook, if that makes sense, a textbook that you're not using anymore, but it's one from, a recent class or a very popular class, those are going to be in high demand. And so you can sell them pretty quickly and, like I said, make a few extra dollars. The next thing that I have here is a little bit obscure. and some people are a little bit afraid of it, and that's donating plasma. So if you're not afraid to go and sit down in a chair for a couple of hours, then also if you're not afraid of needles, obviously, then donating plasma is something that can be really beneficial to not only you, but to a bunch of other people that your plasma can help. If you do decide to donate plasma, you can earn sometimes $800, maybe up to $1,000, depending on where you go. And usually when you sign on to do this, you have to sign on to do multiple donations. But like I said, if you have a few extra hours a couple times a week, then donating plasma is something that can earn you a significant amount of income in a relatively short amount of time, which is always valuable. If you're a student and you don't want to donate plasma, there's another option for you, and that's going to be to become a tutor, right? I know a lot of people, a lot of my colleagues who have become tutors, and they're very successful there because not only are they earning that income, but they're able to review material that is useful for them in the area that they're studying, right? So maybe you're in high school or at a community college. It doesn't necessarily have to be through a tutoring service, but you can offer your help to people in exchange for lunch or something like that. Say, hey, take me out to lunch and I will, tutor you in this class and we can make some progress here, right? It's friendly, it's easy to do, and it creates really another two birds with one stone situation because you're helping someone else and you're helping yourself. And the last thing that we have here is definitely the most obscure on the list. But I know a lot of people, especially college students, who have cars on campus, right? Maybe cars that they don't use every day. Maybe cars that they don't even use every week. And that car basically sits there and depreciates. So if you do have a car and you're in a situation like this, consider renting it out. There's a company called Turo, which is similar to Airbnb in that you can rent out your car by the day if you qualify. So if you're in a high traffic area, right, like a lot of college campuses are, then renting out your car might be something that can earn you some, I'm going to say a buzzword here, but passive income, which, like I said before, any sort of income that you can earn while having freedom to utilize your time for something else is going to be incredibly valuable. So if you do have a car and you're in a situation like that, then consider renting it out and possibly earning some extra income every month. Now, moving on, let's talk about some ways that you can cut expenses. So in a college campus and at many universities, one of the largest expenses that I see people spending their money on, obviously beyond tuition and housing and a car or transportation, things like that. The number one expense beyond those expenses is food. And I see a lot of people who maybe they have meal plans and maybe they have things in place where they have food available to them, but they're still spending so much money going and getting, fast food or going to the grocery store and getting things that they might not necessarily need. Now, I'm not going to tell you to to not go to the grocery store and buy your favorite snacks and things like that, right? What I am going to tell you to do is if you go and you buy groceries for yourself because you cook at home, there's a couple things you can do that can really save you hundreds of dollars a month sometimes. And the first one is going to be meal prepping and bulk buying your groceries. So if you plan out your meals, you take a little bit of extra time to plan out your meals and you're able to buy your meals or the ingredients for your meals in bulk. It allows you to take advantage of a lot of those bulk buy savings, and it allows you to have the option to meal prep as well. So if you have all of your ingredients available to you and you choose to meal prep, even just one meal per day, it can save you a lot of time. Even if you have to drive 15 minutes to go and pick up some food in the middle of the day, it ends up being a 30-minute round trip, not to mention if you have to wait in lines, if you have to sit down and eat your food there, right? So this could save you an hour, maybe more, just by prepping your meals, maybe over the weekend, and having a meal laid out for yourself once per day, every week. Now, another great way that you can save money, especially on food if you're buying groceries, is looking into SNAP benefits. Now, SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And if you live in the United States, it's a program that allows many people who buy groceries to receive a little bit of money from the government, depending on your income and your financial situation, to spend on groceries. So if you are not taking advantage of that program and it's available to you, then look into it and see if you can earn some extra money to spend on groceries. Now, let's talk about how we can save without any money at all, right? So maybe you have zero income or you're accumulating debt, right? If you're a college student going to community college, you might be accumulating debt and maybe living off of scholarships or financial aid. So you really don't have a lot of income to work with. But what you do have is your time. So how can we save in our time when it's so limited, right? Well, I have two tips, two things that you can do and implement into your life to make you more productive. The first one is going to be working in sprints, right? I hear so many different people talking about different techniques, right? You have the Pomodoro technique, you have Labyrinth's Law, right? All of these things that prioritize how you work and implement breaks. And I think there's a lot of information overload around productivity. So really, you need to boil it down to what are all of the principles trying to say? And things like the Pomodoro technique, right? That's a 25-minute interval of work followed by a 5-minute period of rest. The purpose of that is to use your most productive time to work and not your least productive time to work. It sounds kind of hilariously simple, but it really is true. It's focusing on where your marginal benefit is going to be the greatest, right? And that's in the beginning of your work. So if you work for 5 hours straight, the last hour of your work is going to be significantly less productive than the first hour of your work. So by implementing breaks, right, working in sprints, short periods of work, and then a period of rest, that is going to allow you to take advantage of those initial marginal benefits and work at your most productive for the most amount of time. So really, what it's trying to tell you is find periods throughout the day, short periods, to work really, really intensely, to focus hard, to be productive, and then take a break. Be done with it, right? These 5-hour, 6-hour study sessions are not doing you good. And, especially if you have other things throughout the day that you also have to focus very intensely on. You're going to be overloading yourself, burning out, and it's just going to make you less productive overall. And adding on to that, just know when to rest, right? It's really simple. It's as simple as that. If you do find yourself in one of these periods where you're working for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, you need to take a break. And I know that we can't all take breaks every time, but if you do find yourself in a situation where you have to power through one of those, incredibly long sessions of work, then make sure that you're taking adequate rest to follow that up. Because if you don't, you're just going to be digging yourself deeper into a pit that makes you less productive, makes you less efficient, makes your work less fruitful. And that's not a place where any of us want to be. So I see a lot of people who, right, maybe they work for 8 hours a day, on projects, on homework, and then they go to a 5-hour shift at their job. And then they get back and maybe they play video games with their friends. And what that ends up doing is it makes them so exhausted that the next day they have to spend a bunch of money on coffee and energy drinks, and they don't have the energy to cook food for themselves. So they go fast food restaurant. That could be $30 extra that a lack of prioritization has cost them, right? So saving your time really can save you money. And if you implement the right strategies, if you work in sprints, and if you know when to rest, right? That's the most basic type of productivity concept you really can have. Then not only are you going to be saving yourself time, money, energy, sanity, there's so many benefits to just prioritizing your work and taking the proper rest. And it's something that I definitely fall victim to, something that I'm working on because I am the type of person that wants to just work until I can't work anymore. But like I said, if you want to be productive, if you want to be efficient, then you have to know when to take those rest, those breaks. So That all being said, I really appreciate you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm always trying to improve and kind of figure out the best way that I can provide the most value for you in these videos. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video.